Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up?
Welcome to the 223rd Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-host Andrew Norman and senior Scotty Love. Yes, and today's topic is the gift of intention. Would you share what this means to you, Andrew, and why you're happy to discuss this here today? And actually, how you chose this topic.
Yes. This was something that floated into my my mental space a few weeks ago. I threw it at Milan to put it on the list. This is perfect timing for it. Intentions, the gift of intentions is a deep one. When I started thinking about it, each one of us, good to see you, Scotty. Love you. Glad you're here, man. All three of us have a little bit of time, so we can kind of, we're not just throwing these topics out there and just skimming the surface, right? We're hitting hard on these topics. And so as I really dive into like the intention part, when I come into these podcasts, I try to go like what it meant to me before, so before I came here, my life had direction. It didn't have intention though. As I think about it, I'll be very clear about that. I wasn't just drifting randomly. I had goals, right? I had goals to get high, stay numb, avoid consequences, control how I felt, control how you saw me. I had goals, right? None of them were rooted in values though. Nothing was rooted in really, in truth, trying to be better and all that stuff. Nothing was rooted in love, right? That's what I'm looking for. None of it was rooted in love. My intentions, they weren't conscious, right? When I think about it, they were automatic. I had like this automatic survival mode thing going on. If I woke up, my intention was, how do I feel? How do I change the way I feel? How do I escape what I don't want to feel, kind of thing? It was, that was my spiritual program. That was it. And everything I did before here was survival, not growth. I was not trying to grow. I wasn't trying to grow as a person. Maybe in my head I was, but there was no growth there. My intention wasn't to love. It was to be needed or validated. My intention wasn't to like live. It was just to endure. Right. I had a couple of these things written down. And so I had to protect myself at all costs, Scotty. It was one of those things where my intention, that intention shaped everything and every decision that I made. And so, that's different now, right? My intention, right, coming into things where I have this intention, I have a mindset now that's completely different, and it's beautiful, right? Like the truth is, I used to live intentionally unintentional. I had that written down. I knew it was gonna trip people up, but I lived intentionally unintentional. I didn't want to. I didn't want accountability. I didn't want responsibility. I didn't want any of that shit. I didn't want to look at myself. So my intention became avoidance. Like that was the same thing. My intention was to avoid. And that was like my addiction, avoidance, addiction, staying away from people, isolating. And so when I came here, I figured out, I realized one thing: I didn't want to die. Right. I don't want to die. Right. And so I come in here and I want to survive. Right. And that was enough for me at the moment to get me here. And learning that intention is a choice now today. Right. Like intention is a choice. And one of the biggest shifts for me that recovery's done for me is that realization, right? I don't control my thoughts. I don't control my feelings, but I do control my intention. Right. I can't control those other things. I can control the intention behind it. Right. I can choose how I show up. Right. I can choose how I respond to people. I can choose what I'm aiming towards, even when I miss and shoot sideways. Right. Like I can choose how I'm aiming my focus. And then, motivation will come and go, but my intention will stay. if I decide that it does, and I can work on that, and I can make sure that it does, and I can make a conscious effort to make that. So that's how I kind of wanted to roll into it. That's my beginning today. But like early in recovery taught me that like I don't have to feel like always doing the next right thing. I just have to intend to do it, right? I have to have good intentions at all times. It's not doesn't mean I'm always going to do the right thing. But if I have good intentions going into it, I can remain on that spiritual path that I want to be, and I can remain feeling good for that day. Right? It's not about all these big wins and losses. It's these little wins that we can do throughout the day. So I'll pass that to you, Scotty. What does that mean to you?
Scotty Love.
Love you, bro.
Good morning, guys. Great to see you here. Um, I like what you were saying, Andrew. I know that for me, using my intent while using was definitely one of the avoidances as well. Um, for for part of my using, and I know this sounds cheesy as fuck, but for part of my using, I felt myself like kind of like a psychedelic warrior in a way, um, which is kind of a funny term, but um, being so. I mean, I mentioned before, like I'm schizophrenic, right? So for me, using psychedelics was a way for me to, I guess, come to terms with that in a way, right? Like for me, that using was in a very negative cycle, and I, uh, I had all this mental and psychedelic stuff happening that I couldn't figure out how to deal with. So I would use for emotional purposes, and that emotional using worsened or intensified the mental situation I was in. So I was really in this weird cycle of psychosis. And my intent was to kind of cope with that. I know that in recovery, I've had different intentions at different points of my recovery. Um, I think that for a long time, I did a lot of service in Narcotics Anonymous, and a lot of that was based off of the intent of people pleasing. I wasn't really doing it for myself. I was doing it for status and for to be well liked, which um, 'cause, our literature says doing service is doing the right things for the right reasons, right? So intent plays a big role in doing service in that sense. And for a long time, I was basically just a boat without a rudder. I just kind of floated along and did whatever the day required without committing to anything larger than myself. Uh, used to piss my dad off a lot because he was a very driven man. And um, yeah, as I'm in my life today, though, intention is a very important part of my life today because I recognize that, um, or sorry, I've learned to evaluate my motives before I do things, and my motives and my intentions are very closely linked. So I think that to monitor, um, to keep an eye on things, right? Like the kind of an extension of what you were saying, where you kind of um, preemptively check before you just jump in with both feet what your intentions are. You know, like, am I going to go to this meeting so I can have an ego-filled share and pump that up about myself, right? Or am I going to go to a meeting and share just honestly where I am, regardless of who that affects or how it affects it? And that's what I've got for the opening this morning. That's
Dope, Scotty.
It's a
Love you,
great
bro.
It's a great
That
topic.
was awesome.
It's a great topic.
Yeah, I love you guys. That was a delicious start. This is like a little brunch here because I'm
Sizzle
snacking up
pan.
all your recovery awesomeness. You know, I want to start off by expressing gratitude to be here with you two again. It's you know, we're a wonderful tri-faced dynamic of people that you know
No
that
wives.
makes a great mix. And, I wanted to say that, first of all, before step work, I was deluded as to what my true intentions were. Like
Mm,
before I dove in to step work, I was pretty sure I was a nice guy. I was pretty sure I was trying to be generous. I like I
You're saying this to
remember, and
chance.
I've said it 100 times on here, but I remember that the counselors, and you might be a little bit self-centered, and I was like, "Fuck you."
Speak for
Like,
yourself.
I was not. I was totally angry about that, and so now my journey really has been learning behaviors, like, because I'm literally feeling like I'm emotionally growing up now, like I am 53 going on 3, learning behaviors that are in line with my life purpose now, because my life has a purpose inside this
mhm,
program, and creating intentions that produce the results I'm trying to point myself at.
mhm,
Because if I just go back to my old methods of intention setting, like, I feel like there was a gross ignorance about the actual result that
mhm,
was happening, about my motivations behind the intentions,
mhm,
like, and so now, like, I am wholeheartedly trying to, you know, get a total surrender with myself, to be, creating that state of love inside myself, to be feeling forgiveness quicker, and so uh, that intention is aligning my conscious, my thoughts and the spiritual principles, before my day starts. It's
mhm,
like when I get up in the morning, I'm trying to create some state of love right away by like gratitudes and connections with other people and messages of love. Like, it's something that I'm trying to start my day with, and not just letting my day start with fear, and the way that it wraps into surrender for me is that it's that intention is to let go as much as I can, whether it's into my hairy God box, or whether it's just that tension I'm holding, like I can wake up on the wrong side of myself.
mhm,
And right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I need to use my program for the next hour the way that I do, to recalibrate myself. Like the sheer intention of giving a shit of who I'm delivering to the people I love in the world around me. Like that intention in itself is
mhm,
is helping me fulfill the changes, and inside, like, loving completely. It's like, by setting the intention that every interaction with a person or a situation is an opportunity for kindness. It's
mhm,
an opportunity to express love. It's an opportunity for me to go more than, hey, I want to feel love, to actually be loving, you know? Like, because what I've realized, in the last month, even, and late to the table Starsick, you can call me, but, is that if I create the state of love in me, then what I do is loving from that perspective, you
Automatic.
know?
mhm,
And if I'm in it, and if that state isn't in me, it's almost
mhm,
like false love I'm putting out. And I don't want
mhm,
that. I want
mhm,
I want you to feel genuine love from me. Like, and that love is expressed in loving words and loving actions, like kindness and patience. They should be everywhere. And it's learning how to bring more of that into it. And a big part of that is surrender, because I am evidently not awesome at getting rid of some of these shortcomings. And I'm going to leave that
Mhm.
there, and I'm looking forward to these questions. And man, oh man, I'm going to actually end with one thing. I learned this morning that procrastination is a form of selfishness.
Yes, it
And I didn't
is.
know that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it
I
is.
didn't
Yes,
know
it
that.
is. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What you said reminded me of something like that's why it's so important for this topic specifically to have good intentions. If you're doing a good step 10 every day, right? You're staying on top of that step 10. that's gonna roll you into good intentions for that next day, right? Like if we're not step 10 and we're not inventorying our day, it's gonna be hard to. It's a lot easier if we can daily inventory our day, right? Nothing's gonna sneak up on us. That's what I thought. Anyways, I got a question.
I agree.
Are you ready? I'm gonna ask you, Scotty. Too hotty. You ready?
So I've got a question or two for today, too.
Yes.
What did he say?
He's got questions for today, is what he said.
Yes, sweet. So when did you first become aware that intention actually mattered in recovery? When did you first become aware that intention actually mattered in recovery? Tell us a little bit about that.
So this is a good question. This is kind of like they say you have a pink cloud when you come in, right? You have that rose-colored glasses. And then, so I was in the fellowship for a while, and I had some kind of preset beliefs or notions about what was going on. And I kind of had that tint to the glasses, right? Like I had put some people on pedestals. I had, and unfortunately, some of these things turned into cynicism, right? So, but for the first time, I realized intention was important was when I realized that um, not everybody coming to Narcotics Anonymous really wants to get clean and stay clean. And that there's lots of ulterior motives to people coming to meetings, right? And that kind of goes a little bit with not everyone is who they say they are, kind of thing. So, and that would have been pretty quick to moving to Red Deer. So, my recovery journey started out east. I came to Alberta with, I think, 5 or 6 months clean. And it's a much bigger fellowship here. There's at the time anyway. So that's when I realized that, like well, yeah, like people like 13 stepping happens a lot. And I've been guilty of attempting that as well. Just as an example, or some people misappropriate sevenths, right? Which I said I would never do, but I did at one point. And it, that was the big one. When that stuff came crashing down, that's when I realized that intent was different. But what it made me do is look at my own intent, right? And when I came back into Red Deer or into recovery after my relapse, my intent was to stay clean. And my lessons that I'd learned was that intention has to be priority, right? In my recovery and in the people I surround myself with. So, because if it's no, I'll leave it there. That's a good
Beautiful
question,
answer, man.
Good question.
Yeah, man.
Love you, Scotty.
It's a great answer. Thank you. Ready, Milan?
I'm ready.
When, sir, did you first become aware that intention actually mattered in recovery? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I was always a believer in affirmations. That journey for me started maybe about I would say probably about 4 years before I entered the program. And I used to get up in the morning and I would write out a sentence and I would write out a full page of that sentence every day. And, like my I think the most written one was, I'm grateful for the privilege to help and serve others. I'm grateful for health, wealth, family, love, being in my days. And so I would write that out every single day. And when I would stop It was amazing how quickly life deteriorated. And then when I would start, because I like my intention was to do it every day, but my addictions would get in the way of that. Like how many times you're still awake from the day before, writing in the morning. Last thing you want to do is show people how you can't write, you know, and it's true. And so anyway, when I showed up into treatment, I'm a creature of habit, man. You go to a meeting I go to, I'll sit on the same side of that meeting every time. Like I find where I like to view the room from and I don't want to change it. Like it's just like this is like I moved my head less to watch people share. Anyway, so right in front of me in the treatment center though was that sign. That which we focus on becomes greater. And that's literally
That's the sign, boy.
well, that sign is literally speaking about
Awesome.
your intention becoming reality,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
what I realized at that point was that I was filling myself with negative thoughts about being straight. Anytime I thought about being straight, and not only that is that I was like, and this was right at the point where I was experiencing this magic of the surrender of my addiction. Well, it's just like I like banished myself from being able to think about it. Like I just surrendered it. And it was like, so like if I wasn't thinking about addiction, now I need to fill my head with recovery,
Mhm.
right? And so I don't think I've stopped since then. Like I can't pack more recovery in my life right now. Like
Mhm.
I'm at the four sponsee situation, and between that and meetings and everything and the podcast, and like man, this is my life. External to my job and my relationship with my wife and music, recovery is 100% my life. And so like for me it was that moment of realizing that I either continue to fill my head with garbage or I start to look towards the light. Like when Bill corrects himself in the 12 by 12, and I believe it's on step 6 in the 12 by 12 book, where he corrects himself from progress, or not perfection, to progress towards perfection. Like it's literally saying that, we're never going to become our higher power, but we certainly can look to it for inspiration of where to go, you
Mhm.
know and
Mhm.
like and that doesn't have to evoke jealousy. That doesn't have to mean a dissatisfaction of where you are, but it gives us a light to come out of the darkness to.
Mhm.
Right. Yep. Yep. That's
I
beautiful.
love you
That's
guys.
beautiful. I love you more. I love you more.
Woo.
Is it my answer?
It is your
Mhm.
answer. Well, it is
When
your
did
question and your answer.
Yeah, I had people yeah, people are bothering me. I love you. I love you. So when did I first people know when to leave I told her to leave. They know when to leave me alone between these hours, but that's okay. That's okay. When did I first become aware that intention actually mattered in recovery? Um yeah, I love this question too. Y'all really knocked it out the park. So thank you both for sharing what y'all did. Opened up some things for me, but at first when I think about this question, when I think about recovery, it was about behavior for me at first. Like if I thought like if I didn't, you don't use go to meetings, follow suggestions. Like that's where I thought that it had to be, right? And that worked for a while. It worked for a while. At least on the surface. Um, I would show up, man. I would say the right things. I'd do the right things. But underneath all that, like I still felt off. Um, And that's where I'm trying to kind of complicate my way out. I'm feeling like I just never am going to feel good anymore. Like I don't really know why I'm doing this. I need some more relief. This is not for me, right? I just kept having these feelings, even though I was staying clean, I was going to meetings, getting in service, and all that stuff. But I wasn't at peace. I didn't have. I'm so addicted to chaos, Scotty. Like I'm like as an addict, I'm so wrapped up in chaos that when I feel peace, it's like an unfamiliar. It's like uncomfortable for me.
Mhm.
So I was clean, but I just wasn't free, right? And I remember going to meetings with the intention of being seen, really, and not why we want to go to meetings, right? And I felt like I needed to be validated, things like that, right? I think we can get wrapped up in that, especially early on in recovery, and whatever keeps us coming back, right? Like it's all a part of this process for me,
Mhm.
because we're going to learn here, and we have to go through these things, big things, small things. We have to go through these little trials and tribulations to be able to come out on the other side and have that experience that we can come into a meeting and share with. It doesn't matter how small it is, man, because it could be the smallest little thing that happens in your home group, right? And then you don't want to go to your meeting, and then you end up not going to your meeting, and then you end up using whatever happens. Like these little things, if we don't stay on top of them, bro, like we are somebody who, I am somebody who, I can get off track very quick, and when I get off track, bro, it's like I might not come back, right? And it just takes one little thing to lead to another, to another, to another, and then I'm living under a bridge by the next thing you know it, right? And so this is, the intention part of this is cool because, it allows me to really, preempt, a lot of this batch, right? If I can always have good intentions, if it's almost like I have some kind of bulletproof armor around my thoughts and actions going into this recovery thing. Like if I have good intentions going in, bro, like I'm more apt to like it working out for sure, regardless of what's going to happen. So that's kind of where my head goes to it, right? And but when I realized I was doing that, when I realized I was coming to meetings just to be heard and to run my mouth, it hurt. Like it hurt, right? Because I had a sponsor that kind of pointed these things out to me, but it also freed me. Um, it was huge for me. Like it hurt, but it freed me. I started noticing like when I had like this fear-based intention or like fear of failure, it allowed me to notice these different fears that would cripple me back in the day, like these things that would cripple me, right? And so as an addict, my mind is going to play on anything that's gonna think that like maybe using at the end of this is going to be a good decision or a good idea. And so it's just part of this process. It's part of staying on top of that process. It's part of staying out of that lane. And so early on in recovery, I used to make mistakes. When we make mistakes, and that's another thing I have for this question is like I used to make a lot of mistakes. I still do. You know, not relapsing, but like reacting poorly, say things I don't want to say or I regret, handle situations with emotions instead of like, what I should be, right? And so it doesn't cripple me anymore today. What I can step back at it and try to focus on those intentions, on the front end to be better. So that's it. That's my answer. Love you guys, man. I
I
guess
love
Scotty
that.
got some questions.
I just I want to say something to what you were saying is like you were talking about little things. And one of the things that I'm really seeing now in what I'm reading and what I'm learning is there is no little things. There is no little resentment. Like and the thing is that, when we minimize it, it's almost like building that delusion that we have it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like it creates an impurity what like
yeah,
that discontentment, it doesn't have to be a mountain. It's
yeah.
still restless, irritable, and discontent, and
Follow what you want, it's there,
yeah, exactly. And it's actually creates a situation of self-dishonesty and
Yeah.
quite often dishonesty to others because we're not acknowledging how we're really feeling.
And if you try to minimize it, it's taking up mental space and it's just more shit you're having to
It's a
worry
record of
about.
wrong,
Yeah,
man. It's a
yeah, yeah,
mother effing record of.
yeah.
Okay,
Love it.
Scotty, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. But first, I want to
Yeah,
comment on this little
yeah,
things thing.
yeah.
Yes.
What you guys are
Woo!
saying is very true and a very good point. But I'd like to turn that on its head a little bit.
Sure.
So
Do it.
I can remember in recovery when some of the little small things that were good, right?
Mhm.
How they changed the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of, have you heard of the glimmer? Of what a glimmer is? Because
Yeah.
so a
Mm-hmm.
trigger, right,
Mhm. Yeah.
is something that makes you think about using or brings up uncomfortable feelings related to all that shit and your bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
A glimmer is a small thing that happens that triggers the good side of you, the spiritual side, the God
Like a
giving
glimmer of
side,
hope.
glimmer of hope. Exactly.
Okay.
Right. I was talking with my wife the other day about waking up and hearing the birds outside
Love
and
that.
not going, those motherfuckers are too loud. I have a
I
hangover. You
say that
gotta
a
shut the
lot,
fuck up.
Scotty. I used to hate birds. I used to get up and want to shoot birds. Now I'm like, bro, that's a
Exactly.
cardinal. I know exactly what the cardinal sounds like, and like the
Yeah.
red cardinal. I know it's right outside my. Oh, it's fucking spiritual as shit, bro. It's awesome.
But you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like there's that glimmer,
Yes.
and
No.
it's those small glimmers that are the true nourishment of our soul as we move forward in recovery,
Let's
in
go,
my opinion.
Scotty. Let's go, Scotty. Come
But
on,
Little
that's
man.
things
it,
like
though.
that.
And in the same way, there is no
Yeah.
small love. There's either love or
It's,
not love, and
Yeah.
those glimmers are love
It's either
yeah.
growing
happening or it
inside you.
ain't. You either cut on or cut
Yeah,
off. Let's go.
I love that you brought that up, Scotty, because it
Great
puts a
point.
positive turn to the end of the little things.
But
Thank you
it's
for
true.
that.
I know.
It's true.
Boom,
Well,
boom.
that's why we call you Scotty Love.
I do. I know him. I know him.
Oh man, you should get a shirt that says Scotty Love, like in disco letters. I'd love it.
If you get me one, I'll wear it for the show anytime. How's that?
Okay, I'll make one. I'll make what size T-shirt
I
you
think
wear.
we can do it.
3X.
Okay, there we go.
Ooh-wee. All right.
Okay.
Scotty, you got a question?
I do. So, what I've come to learn about prayer is the two most important parts of prayer are sincerity and intent.
Mhm.
So, how does intent play a role in how you pray?
Mm.
Okay. So sincerity would be much like the purity that I was just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I feel like I was saying earlier, the intent is kind of the direction that I'm pointing myself in, even by saying, like they say that worry is like praying for bad things to happen. Well, it's Chuck C there, who I'm listening to a new pair of glasses right now, which is an AA book, whatever. But it's a really great book, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like he goes as far to say that every thought you have is a prayer. So you better be looking at your motives, your preferences, your intent behind everything you're saying. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so the intent is like, am I doing this for me, or am I asking this for like help, guidance, or for others? Like essentially, I think the line in the sand for me in intent is it for self or is it for service? And that's what it boils down to, really. And yeah, I'm going to leave that there, because for me, I don't know really how else to describe it for what I think and what I try to aim my days at.
I love it.
Love you, bro. Love you, man.
Mm,
Thanks for that,
love you
Mom.
guys.
I like that.
Mhm.
The direction, where we're aiming.
I'll take that question, sir.
So, the two most important parts of prayer are serenity or sincerity and intent.
Hmm.
So how does intent play a role in what you pray or how bring it into your spiritual life?
It's a great question. A great question. Wow. When I first got here, I didn't, I had to borrow y'all's prayers and the way y'all prayed, and I'd really just followed y'all, and it really wasn't about connection. I was just praying because I was told to pray, right? I was really
Mm-hmm.
just told to pray, and I was told, if you don't know how to pray, push, push, pray until something happens. Push, 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 pray until something happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was mechanical at first. But then I remember when I started realizing what that was doing for me, and the intent and all that stuff you're talking about, because intent is everything with prayer, right? And prayer is very important to me, Scotty. I've talked about this before. When I first got with the lady who I'm with now, my wife slash fiance, whatever you want to call her, my other half, um, we pray every morning and every night, and we would be some mornings or nights or whatever, we would be in a rush, and we'd be like, okay, are you praying or am I praying? And she would really just like she would fly through it. Like she would just be like, okay, got like blah, blah, blah. And I would stop her. Like it would make me uncomfortable.
Mhm.
It would, because I'm like, Tess, like if you're gonna do that, I'll pray. I'll just pray. And I didn't want to make it like a thing. I was just like, this is important to me. And if you're not going to have like it was about the intent for me, because I don't like to do that. I don't like to just throw it out there, right? Like if we got to pray, we got to pray, throw it out there. But if we're praying, like I want to have intention, and I want to think about what I'm praying to. I actually want to connect. Prayer is extremely important for me. It's extremely powerful for me. And so if I start throwing it out there, like, and it was one of those things where we came to terms, and she can get certain things out of certain ways that she prays outside of what I can, and that's fine, right? And we're both our own people, but all we have to do is communicate, and it works out. But the intention behind my prayers, that sincerity has grown as sincerity has grown in my life, right? And that intention has changed, right? My prayers today mean I'm not trying to sound spiritual anymore, right? I remember used to just trying to sound spiritual, like hearing people who could pray good and just trying to like mimic them. And that's cool too. That's what we have to do when we get here. Like that's what I had to do. But I don't filter my words anymore to make them sound acceptable. I'm just praying, right? It's about the love. It's just about what's coming out and where I'm at in my heart. And
Mhm.
you know, I, if I'm angry, I admit that I'm angry. If I'm confused, like I try to pray for that confusion to go away. I've learned that I don't offend my higher power when I'm honest, right? Like we're
Mhm.
not offending him, right?
Mhm.
Like he's aware,
Mhm.
we're not ducking that. And so as soon as I can realize that, right, that intention it becomes really crisp for me, right? It becomes really natural for me. Um, because I have given myself to this program, right? Like this is a commitment I've made, right? I'm all in. I was all in
Mhm.
inactive with my disease, but I'm all in, right? And a big part of this thing, like a huge part of this thing, like a trump card in my arsenal is prayer, like
Mhm.
tapping in with him. Like when I'm tapped in with him, I'm not really worrying about anything else that's going on, right? I'm tapped in, and there's nothing else more important going on at that time. Like I'm not doing other things. So that's where it comes in for me. That was a great question. I really appreciate that question. You should answer it. I want to hear what you have to say.
Mhm. Thanks, man. Thanks. It's just so to myself with sincerity and intention, especially intention. Um, I really like what you guys have been talking about already. Like, uh, with with when I was when I was living on my own and single, I could devote as much time to prayer in the morning as I wanted to, right? And I wasn't working at the time, so I really appreciate what you're saying about the quick prayer, like saying it just to say it, not with that sincerity have, but just saying it. And um, for me, prayer became almost mechanical at times, where it was um, my intent was some usually good, but not always. And the the what comes to my mind, so um, I grew up without religion of any kind, right? And pretty much no spirituality. Aside from my one grandmother who was in the program and very devout Christian. But so like saying grace before a meal was never something that I ever done. And I through work, and then I started coaching with a friend of mine, and he prays before his meals, even like at a restaurant and stuff, right? He'll say, "Do you mind if I pray for this meal?" I'm like, I wouldn't, I mean, it doesn't piss me off or anything. So I say yes. And then I realized from the intent, how how continued action and continued prayer can kind of guide intention along the way, right?
Mhm.
When 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 the idea of saying thanks for the food I'm about to eat started became a more regular thing for me, it developed a lot of gratitude, right? Because I live very close to one of the shelters here in Red Deer, homeless shelters, and um, they don't always get to eat, right? They're probably 2 football fields away from me, right? Um, and their life is going very difficult for them for whatever reasons. And so I'm praying, I'm like, I get to eat this wonderful meal, and somebody out there is going through a dumpster right now. And I was like, right? So I started having more gratitude about my meals, right? And the intent of giving thanks. So then now I'm like, well, what am I actually eating here? Right? I'm thankful for food, but am I abusing my body with the food that I'm eating? Right? Because I'm a heavy guy. I used to be heavier, I lost a bunch of weight, I've gained some of it back. And I'm looking at starting my journey again, my weight loss journey. Not starting again, but you know. And so there's the continued intent changed the way I looked at things. Um, and I really feel like intent is so much. I have a follow-up question that'll kind of flesh that out a little bit, but that's what makes me think of is like if I'm yeah,
I love that, man.
I'm going to let you go off on a weird tangent, so I'm going to shut up and I'm
He
gonna
caught
shut up
himself.
and
He's like, I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna stop myself. That's funny.
yeah.
Love you, Scotty. Love
I
you,
Let's keep
love
it
bro.
you
on
guys.
let's keep it
Okay,
on
I got a
topic.
question here for you, Andrew.
Yes.
Okay, the 12 by 12 clarifies that an amends is not just a sorry, but a restoration of what was broken. When you approach someone to make right a wrong, is your intention truly to heal the relationship, or are you just trying to surrender your own guilt?
Hmm. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, obviously now you're asking me that question today. It's to prepare the relationship. I remember doing it just to do it though. Um, just to make myself feel better for, because I was kind of told I needed to do so. And that's all part of that process too. We're talking a lot about this process from early to now, that the growth and the things that we got to go through are what shape us, right? Like and how we come up to these problems, and then how we deal with those problems, and then on the back end how we handle ourselves is how this program works in my life, right? I'm different in all phases as I think about it. And this intention thing rolls into the whole deal, right? If I have good intention on the front end, even if it doesn't work out for me on the back end, bro, like I know the situation is going to be okay, right? And yeah, that's where like staying tapped into God is very, very important. But when I approach people today, um, I'm not going to approach them if for any other reason than I want things to be better than between us or like in the world in general, right? Like if there's any other reason why I would be approaching them to talk to them, I'm not going to do it. Like I'm only going to do it in the good realm or like in the healthy way. Like I'll talk to my sponsor. If it's something crazy, obviously I'll talk to people first, man. I always consult my people, my war cabinet, if you will,
Mhm.
before I go to war. Before I press that button, bro, I'm always gonna consult my high ranking officials as I see it, because they're gonna always tell me if I'm out of line or whatever before I go forward. So that's my answer, quick and easy. Love you, man.
Love you too. That was great. Mr. Scotty Love. The 12 by 12 clarifies that an amends is not just a sorry, but a restoration of what was broken. When you approach someone to make right a wrong, is your intention to truly heal the relationship, or are you just trying to surrender your own guilt?
Neither, if I'm honest. So, uh, yes, it is to right the wrong, right, that I have done. Um, my first set of amends was probably a little bit more on the repair the relationship side of things. Like I had an expectation that if I made a sincere enough apology to somebody, that we could be friends again, or that we like we could have the closeness that we had before shit went down. Um, and I don't think that's an appropriate uh, stance for the amend. Um, I think that what I've learned from making amends over the years is that the it's more about making sure I've taken responsibility, and that I've taken it upon myself to try to fix or better the situation. But after that, it's out of my hands, right? Um, I have some good, uh, you know, I have some good stories about, my first set of amends that I made when I was 2 weeks clean.
Oh, they were probably doozies.
You know, like, yeah, but because those amends and my first set of steps amends, I wanted to repair what was broken, that we could move on. And I realized that some of my amends, that outcome is unachievable. Um, so there's that. And also, some amends I'm not willing to make for legal reasons, right? Like it happened so long ago now that I'd probably get away with it. But what I've done instead is to pay it forward. So it's not even about going to those institutions and things that I fucked over. It's about living myself in a way today where I embody that amends. Does that make sense? Do you want an example? Would that make sense? Am I being too vague?
It makes
Sure,
sense.
sure.
Okay, so I used to shoplift for food a lot, right? Money, my priority, I used to make this joke. So my money priority went like smokes, booze, drugs, food, rent, in that
Hmm.
order. So sometimes food being so low, I would pill for something, and not usually too much, but over time, it adds up. Now, I'm I was told that it was probably not be the best idea for me to go up to these places and be like, I used to shoplift from you. I owe you X amount of money, blah blah blah. But what I can do is donate to the food bank, so somebody doesn't have to steal to eat, right? So that's an example where I'm not really trying to repair anything, but I'm trying to make the intent that I'm uh, growing as a person and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what I mean by that.
Nice.
Beautiful, man.
I
Beautiful,
love that.
bro.
Okay, the 12 by 12 clarifies that an amends is not just a sorry, but a restoration of what was broken. When you approach someone to make right a wrong, is my intention to truly heal the relationship, or am I just trying to surrender my own guilt? Well, I'll tell you, man, like I was guilt infused for my whole life before I arrived
Mm,
in this program. Like I was raised Catholic and I was raised on guilt.
mm,
Like guilt was like, I didn't get beat into doing stuff. I got guilted into doing stuff, by teachers, parents, family members, everything. There was the odd person who beat me, but, it wasn't my mom anyway. But, the steps have helped me become free of that guilt, right? But
mm,
it still hurts me to hurt others. And I'm in harmony with feeling that more than ever, right? So, like, am I feeling pain or am I feeling guilt once I do
mm,
something these days, And quite frankly, I'm trying to do my step 10 so quickly, I don't even need to waste a day pondering the philosophies of that sometimes, really.
mhm,
And, because, the like the very word amend, I mean, it's like to correct the path I'm on that's not right. Like I'm amending my direction in my actions. And so, you
yeah.
can't go back in time. That's one of the things that's easy to get stolen from the present moment is trying to go back to something, right?
Mhm,
And so,
mm,
that's one
mhm,
of the things that when I say to someone, it's like in the future, this is what I should do, and this is what I'm going to be trying to do. I'm not saying jump in my time machine and I'm going to put your money back
mhm,
or your feelings back. And so, it's definitely it's still a mix of both though, I would say that but I'm definitely not trying to restore what happened. I am amending my behavior,
mm,
and that's what I'm pledging to do, right? Like I can't control the universe enough to recreate a situation and give myself another go, right? But if the opportunity arises, that's when I have a chance to change. And so I think I'll leave that there. I love you guys, and I'm super grateful to be here today. I feel like
Me
love is
too,
in the
man.
room, even if we can't see Mr.
Even
Invisible
if we
Scotty
can't
Love.
see Scotty's roaming around, but I got you. You got ready for a question?
yep.
Yeah, yeah. He's like on the bathroom.
Okay, I'm gonna ask
No,
you,
no, he's
Scotty.
not. No, just asking.
All right. So, Scotty, what happens when your intentions and your actions don't align? What happens when your intentions and your actions don't align?
Oof. Well, I think so I like the word harmony for when I'm in a state of usually spiritual comfortness, and that my actions and my motives and my intent and my spirituality are all kind of lined up. That's like when life is harmonious. So when I'm in a situation where my actions are not following the spiritual intent that I try to live by, I create disharmony within myself. And disharmony sucks, right? Like when you're listening to music and someone plays a sour note and it's just like, oh, that's the start of the disharmony within myself. So a lot of times the way that expresses for me is that it makes me feel shitty about myself. It brings up a lot of stuff. On the other hand, sometimes my actions are more spiritual than my intent. And I don't really know how that's playing necessarily. I know that fucking construction outside. Um, I guess when my intent is good or spiritual, I should say, and I think it's good, it's easy to follow through with my actions. Sometimes easier with my actions than if it's bad. But I think that it's for me, it comes down to that harmony thing. sorry, I'm kind of all over this question, but I have to come back to harmony and how um, the disharmony and the disunity within myself, right? Like if I'm a people pleaser and there's a conflict going on, then I want a conflict resolute as fast as I can to restore order and harmony within the system of conflict, right? So yeah, so that's how that disharmony. I
Beautiful, man.
can't really explain it better than that.
I think you did great. I
Love
think you
it.
explained the hell out of
Awesome.
it. Yeah, you ready, Milan?
I'm ready.
What happens, young man, when your intentions and your actions don't align? Tell us about it.
Yeah, and so, this is part of the learning process that I was talking about earlier, that the steps have helped me, is that, if I'm doing a step 10, if I'm taking an inventory of what I'm doing, hopefully it's going to uncover that lack of integrity between intention,
Hmm.
and if I'm following through with that step 10, then I'm also bringing harmony between those things in the future, right? And
Hmm.
so, generally, if my intention and my actions don't align, I'm starting to not feel content, and probably those around me, they're probably suffering, they're suffering probably from some poor treatment because, I'm starting every day trying to point myself in this spiritual principle direction. I, and quite frankly, it's just not there all the time. Like, my intention is to have a day full of love, surrender, and forgiveness. And come 3 o'clock some days, there's anything but in the chaos of Milan's mind, you know?
Hmm.
And it's so like, um, when they say what we have is a daily reprieve, man, sometimes my reprieve comes 5 minutes at a time, you know, and that reprieve can be from that lack of harmony of the intentions and the actions. And, and so, yeah, now it's really, uh, my day starts with intentions, and there's just a continual system of evaluation, course correction that just goes on all day long, because
Hmm.
because my intentions are pure and my actions might not end up pure, and it's just being honest with myself throughout the day when it's not. Yeah, I
Beautiful,
think
man.
that's it for me. I love you guys.
Beautiful, man. So, Andrew, what happens when my intentions and my actions don't align? Hashtag LLA. Great question. Y'all knocked it out the park, man. I love you two so much, man. I needed everything y'all have been telling me today, man. It's just such therapy for me. But I think about it today, when it's like I get really, really, really uncomfortable. Like, and I could feel it. Like, there's a lot of warning signs that happen for me today. Um, what it really looks like is like when I get restless, irritability, when I start feeling those guilty feelings, like I know I've got to step back, I got to pause, and I got to revisit something. Um, I use them as warning signs to grow. It's just it's like an inner thing that just tells me something's off. Before I got here, I used to, act unaccordingly, right? I would just act, however, whatever the situation was around the substances or the situation around the substances, whatever it was, I would just act like an asshole, whatever it was, man. I'd break the law. It didn't matter. I was just beating people over the head, stealing, lying, cheating, stealing, whatever you want to call it. And to get my fix, because ultimately, if I didn't have it, I was going to feel like I was going to die. And I didn't want to feel like that, right? I would do anything not to feel that feeling. And so today, when these little spots of like, uncomfortability and like guilt hit me, like it's just a spot for me to like check my program, revisit what's going on, why am I feeling like this, what haven't I done today that I'm used to doing? What do I need to do today to get me back more in line, right? Like there's a lot of things that I'm working on today to be able to keep me A, out of that lane, and B, once I get into it, I can use it as a place for growth, and to be better. Because beforehand, when I didn't have a program, I didn't have anybody telling me anything else. Like, I'm not going to course correct any of my actions. I'm just going to try to validate them. Right. I would just validate why I was being an asshole or I would just try to make excuses or whatever. But now I can be like, okay, like I got to step back and revisit that. Maybe go say sorry to somebody. Maybe, try to make an amends, try to do something productive and spiritual to show and to maintain me being a better person today, so that I can lay my head on my pillow tonight and not be at war with myself. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do here. Right? When I lay my head on my pillow at night, am I at war with myself for my actions throughout the day? And today I can honestly say no. Like I finally am not running from that pillow, Scotty. I used to run from that pillow, bro, because when I hit that pillow, bro, that's when things turn on for me in my brain, right? And I have a thinking disease. I have a disease that talks to me in my own voice. I am a super badass salesman, right? I'm a super good salesman. I can sell a ketchup popsicle to a lady in white gloves on the hottest day of the year. And I can do that every time. And so when I'm selling myself, my own shit, right? It's really, really hard to say no, bro. That's where I've got to have everything we're talking about here today, all these things that we try to surround ourselves with and try to involve ourselves into, or are things that are going to keep us out of that old way of doing things, because that old way of doing things is a sick place to be, bro. Having to wake up every morning and feed that beast before I fed me in the morning is not a place I ever want to be ever again in my life, right? And so with that said, I will pass that. I think I'm done. Love you too.
Love you. Now I believe it's Scotty's
question to you.
Yep.
To you, Milan?
Yeah.
So, we've been talking about some of the intentions behind prayer and its importance. There's an expression: there are no atheists in foxholes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, have you had any foxhole prayers in recovery?
First of all, like even in my life, I was never like, please help me out. Like, it just wasn't it. And for like, it really just doesn't change. It doesn't really change. Like my second sponsor, he was really big on the fact of that, praying only for his will for us and the power to carry that out. That part of that step. He was really big on that. He's like, when someone's going to the hospital, he's like, I'm not praying for them to, like, I'm not playing like I'm God and I'm going to make sure that they're okay from cancer or something. It's really kind of like that they'll have acceptance for whatever happens inside this situation. He'll pray for that, pray for something like that. And that we can accept this situation as best we can with our limited understanding of everything that's happening. And so I don't do the Hail Mary prayer thing. Like, I really just don't. It was something that I feel like for me was just everything. Like, either I believe what I'm taught or I don't. Right? Like, I don't feel like I get to just start changing this whole program. And so on that front, I just don't. I don't do it. So yeah, I like, for me, mine is a fairly repetitive action, because it's kind of like, there's a template of stuff that I'm trying to surrender that that just keeps coming up in my life, and there's not a day goes by that I don't want guidance. There's not a day that I don't want to love and surrender more. Like, and so when those aspects are in my life, then everything else is okay. Even the really hard stuff. And that's
Mhm.
and that's the difference for me, is that, um, even what used to be the extremely hardest stuff in the world doesn't require that Hail Mary for me now. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's
Thank you,
beautiful. I'll take
Milan.
that question,
Thank
bro.
you.
Bro, that was beautiful.
So we were talking about intent with prayer and spirituality. So they say there are no atheists in foxholes. So have you had a foxhole prayer uh, or situation in recovery?
As I think about that term foxhole prayer, before I came here, I remember there were a few times where I just like life or death comes, right? And it's just like, all right, get me out of this
Hmm.
situation. Like don't let me go to jail. Don't let me get hurt. Like whatever it is. That's where I
Yeah.
think about that foxhole prayer. And so in terms of like that, I haven't had any like that, but I've had like as I deem them foxhole prayers now, where it's like I'm just out of answers, and it's not the normal prayer for me, and it's on a cusp, and it doesn't matter where it's at, and it's like I've got to do it. And there are a few times when I do remember having to come to that kind of a prayer. It's more of like a prayer of desperation in the moment. Um, and the really, really important and really, really beautiful thing that I've noticed is that they're not signs of weakness anymore today, Scotty.
Hmm.
Those prayers, when I think about those foxhole prayers, and I was doing it because I'm a weak person, and I needed something bigger than this world to get me out of that situation. Like I'm coming from a place of weakness at that point, right? Today I can quote unquote foxhole prayer it into just something that's gonna help me or somebody out in recovery, another recovering addict. And that's the thing. Like prayer gets really, really it gets more impactful and more meaningful almost when other people are involved, uh, and or when I'm praying for somebody else. Like it almost brings me to tears when I can like in the moment be and pray for somebody and help with somebody or something like in a time of need for them. Oh man, it makes my whole body just like right. I can't even really explain it. Y'all probably both know what I'm talking about, right? When prayer is like it's so perfect in the moment and needed, and it just kind of fills that cup in the moment. The foxhole prayers now can be in a healthy way, right? It can be a healthy foxhole prayer for somebody to stop hurting, or something. And those health and the foxhole prayers now that I think about it can be for somebody else today. They can be pointed somewhere else, right? It doesn't have to be all
Hmm.
about me today. I can actually pray for somebody to stop hurting or to help somebody's situation out better as he sees fit, right? And that's really, really cool because what's one of the most unconditionally loving things we can do for ourselves, Scotty? Pray
Pray.
for ourselves, right? Boom. And so
Mm,
people think about not being able to give unconditional love to other people. What's one of the most unconditionally loving things you can do for somebody else now that we're talking about it?
that's a prayer.
Pray for them. That's one thing. Somebody told me that early on in recovery, and it changed things for me. When they said pray for somebody, and pray for your enemy. Pray for the person you don't like or fancy. If you don't have enemies, whatever. Pray for that person that you do not like very much, that you despise. Pray for
Mm-hmm.
good things that happen to that person, and then when good things happen to that person, that will change your life, bro. It'll change your life, man. It'll change your life. I guarantee it. It's just I don't even have to say anything more. I'm done. That's a good answer. That's a good question. I love that you're hitting on a lot of prayer, man, because prayer is very important to me. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's so when somebody told me that I can practice unconditional love by praying for somebody else, and it's something that I don't even have to talk to them, do anything for them, but I can do it in my own time and pray for somebody, and it's literally better than
Mm-hmm.
me buying them a car. Like, come on, man. I'm in with that, bro. I'm in with that. It changed things for me. So love you.
Me too, man. It's wicked. So foxhole prayers. So yeah, um, I've definitely had okay, so I've had two types of foxhole prayers. Um, And when I was using, they were the 7-Eleven foxhole prayer. Right? I don't know if you've heard that expression before. So my God was a God of convenience, right? And I would pray when it was convenient for me to pray about something, and it would be a bargain, right? It'd be like, uh, get me out of this situation. If you do, I'll never do this again. I'll never do that again. Just please help me out. My mother's sick, blah, blah, blah. Like all this whirlwind of stuff. Uh, Um, but in recovery, I do have some foxhole prayers, and it's usually about getting rid of my own will, right? It's like, 'cause there's been time I've had some ups and downs in recovery. There's been times when I look at my situation and I'm just like, I am the common thread in these problems, right? Like these problems are either self-generated or I'm making them a lot worse than they need to be because of my ego. So I've had foxhole prayers in recovery where I'm like, you know, I'm like I come to my higher power and I'm just saying, I'm done, man. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna give all this to you. I give myself to you. The like the AA third step prayer, I really like. I offer myself to thee to build with me, to do with me as thou wilt, right? Like that's pretty intense. But Milan made a good point too. And I really appreciate that point that praying for self and praying for others is um, we do have to be not careful, I think, but mindful of our prayers. And it happens or it talks about it on a number of times in our literature, right? Where um, the knowledge of the spirit of step 11, where we're basically asking for a clear depiction of our place in this world and what we can do for that place, right? Um, there's one of the daily readings talks about like what happens if you okay, so what happens if you do pray for that new car, right? You pray for that new car and he gives it to you, right? Well, that's fantastic. You've got a new car, right? Now your insurance is going to go up, right? It takes premium gas. So do you have the tools and the capability to actually receive that prayer? And you don't, right? So I think an important part to remember for me. And praying for other people is similar. Uh, the last sponsor I had talked about um, if I pray for somebody to get healed, right? And they get healed, does that make me some sort of powerful spiritual healer that I can talk to God and get other people healed? And it's like, no, that's not really, I don't think that's a healthy viewpoint to have or things. Um, but I do think it's okay to pray for other people. Um, the way I've rationalized that in my life and internalized that in my life is that, if my friend is having a hard time, like a friend is having a hard time, and I pray for them, well, that's a good thing to do. And how you pray for them or what you pray for them, you have to be mindful, right? But it also comes down to I'm praying for this person. What can I do in the physical world for this person, right? Like, is it within my actions to directly affect what's going on with this person? And if there is, then that's probably how my prayer will manifest. You know what I mean? So. That's what I got for that.
Love that, man. Where we at?
So
Here.
basically, Scotty Love, I want to thank you for that. And one thing, though, that you said a couple shares ago, when you were talking about prayer becoming mechanical, right? For me, sometimes when prayer becomes mechanical, it becomes meditational, and and that can induce like a certain trance-like state for me to be able in a state to receive messages and to change my feeling. Like I think that there's a reason why, like, say for the Catholics, they have the rosary where you're repeating
Mm-hmm.
the prayer over and over, and like I find for myself, like sometimes I can be in a really crappy situation. And if I start with the same start I do and get my hands in the right position, I can just go, "Woof," and it can change my state of being.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Um,
What does that sound? What does it sound like though? What is the sound that it makes?
woo,
That's not what it sounded. That was different. That was a different
woo,
sound. I love you.
woo.
I gotta
I
mess with you.
I got sound effects from Ellie. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
and
got some
then
questions here. Well, you want to say something, Scotty?
honestly, like what comes to my mind with that is that if I start my prayer in the same way every time, then it can kind of shortcut me to uh, the type of mindset or spiritual center, so that my prayer then becomes more sincere or more with more intent. Like shortcuts me into that good feeling that I feel like comes with prayer. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like it induces that state of being.
Induces,
Like
yes.
if, like,
There's a
yeah,
consistency there. It becomes like natural and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I 100% think that. And man, I
love it.
love you guys. I'm grateful to be here. I got a great question. It involves a little willingness. You got some willingness, Mr. Andrew?
A little bit.
Okay. So intention begins with the willingness mentioned in the NA basic text, the spark that starts the engine of change.
Mhm.
Are you intentionally looking for ways to be willing today, or are you waiting for inspiration to strike before you surrender your will?
That's a great question. A little bit of both, I
Mm.
guess. I try to be proactive on that part, but I do find myself waiting um, for things to make me move and act, right? And so I do. I'm glad it's a great question because it brings awareness to it for me. It's something that I feel like I do have to get a little better at. Not being so reactive to other people, but being intentional on the front side, and that can keep me from being in those places that I get backed up in. But it's the honesty piece. Got to be honest at all times. As long as I'm honest, open, honest, and willing, and I come to the table of all my relationships the same way, and I'm consistent. We talk about that consistency. There's something magical happens here in this recovery thing when we add consistency to this mixture of all these other things we're doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
It becomes a little bit, well, it becomes a lot of bit amazing, right? There's a lot of things that can come with consistency here. Because we don't like, complacency is not what we want, right? Complacency, being comfortable and being comfortable is great, but complacency, what happens when we get complacent?
Come place your ass in the seat.
Go place ass in the seat. Dealing with complacency. We ain't never hit you with that one yet. We hadn't had that one in a while, bro. Yeah, bro, when you're dealing with complacency, bro, my sponsor would be like, come place that ass in the seat. We need to get right? We need some step work, do something. Come sit your ass down, young man. So yeah, it's about consistency. And it was to your point on the prayer too, Milan. If you can stay consistent with the same way into that prayer every single time, it becomes very powerful every time. And that's something that as an addict, I think we need these good, consistent patterns in our life because we have been living the opposite of that for so long, most of us. So, yeah, quick and easy, bro. I don't need to run on. That was my answer, bro. I love you.
I just want to add that, like, for myself, one of the things I do is I'm reading that First Corinthians 13 as part of my two-way prayer. Like that in itself provides a mechanical intro And it's like, while I'm reading it, I swear, like a different sentence pops out to me every time. Just
It's
like when you read
perfect.
the literature, and it's just like, man, if I go into my prayer pondering love, there's a good chance I'm having a loving thought.
Or pondering
Yeah.
that you can get a better prayer than what you're starting off with that Corinthians, because it ain't happening. You can't put words together
Yeah.
better than that. Ain't happening, bro.
That's right. That's right. Okay, Mr. Scotty Love. Thank you, Willie Willingness. The
No.
intention begins with the willingness mentioned in the NA basic text, the spark that starts the engine of life, of change. Are you intentionally looking for ways to be willing today, or are you waiting for inspiration to strike before you surrender your will?
Hmm.
You need a train choo-choo.
Choo choo.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Oh, I like that voice.
Glad to be here, Willing. Sorry.
Um, this is actually relevant to me today. Um, I've spent a lot of my adult life waiting for something to come and save me, while being willing to just save myself. And when I look at spirituality and that, it's been a source of motivation as well as a I don't know what you'd say restorative thing, right? To get me into a place where I seek change and I seek improvement and I seek these things. When I was in um, for when I was struggling with my mental health a lot more, uh, it I would play the victim a lot of that time, even in recovery, and that's not a healthy place to be, and it's uncomfortable and it sucks and it stinks. So I've been, but with my recovery, so here's the thing, right? When I come in and I need consistency and I need help in the early part of my recovery, um, I was seeking the absence of pain. I was seeking the avoidance of what I use drugs to avoid, right? And as recovery came more and more serious and I started to grow in recovery, I stopped doing the things my intent. So my intent in early recovery was I don't want to use anymore. And there came a point in my recovery where my intent became I want to be the best me that I can. I when I got a taste of what true recovery was, when I got a taste of what true spirituality is, when I got a taste of true friendship through my fellowship, when I got a taste of these things, after all, I was like, you know what? Fuck. Yes, I have a fear of relapse, but my actions now are because I want more of recovery in my life. So I seek, that's what I began seeking. And so that's where my intent took me. So my intent starts taking me to, you know, uh, to service in a loving way that doesn't burn me out because I've been burned out through service before, you know. Um, it takes me to helping my fellow addict, making sure that newcomer right at the meeting, making sure if I don't go up and talk to them, somebody's talking, right? You know, somebody needs a sponsor, they come to me. I can't take any sponsees, but I know that gentleman over there. So my intent shifts. So I don't know if I'm looking for, I think what I personally need uh, is a catalyst to make me bridge that gap again, since I've kind of been going through a lot of flux with my recovery lately. Um, and Yeah, so I do seek change now, and I do seek self-improvement and things like that because I like it. It makes me feel good. Yeah, that's
Love you,
what I got.
Scotty.
I love that.
Love you, bro.
Okay. Intention begins with the willingness mentioned in the NA basic text, the spark that starts the engine of change. Are you intentionally looking for ways to be willing today? Or are you waiting for inspiration to strike before you surrender your will? You know, this makes me just go right back to my whole journey with self forgiveness this fall. And, I think when I find somewhere that I'm not willing, I'm willing to pray for it. I prayed for the willingness to forgive myself. Like
Mhm.
I literally just did that like 6 weeks ago. And for most things, if I'm conscious of it, I generally feel like I have a willingness to do whatever part is my part in it to move forward, and I certainly yeah, I'm not shying away from anything I'm discovering. If it's in my awareness, it's in my willingness, or I'm praying for willingness of it, and the only one that I found to be lacking really recently was that self-forgiveness. And so, I went ahead and brought myself to
You've been killing it.
to,
You've been
to
killing it, man.
tears on it, man. And so I feel
Proud of you.
like, I've got more willingness now than I had at the start of my program, and it's because I've gotten to taste the candy of serenity, contentment, joy, faith, love, all that wrapped together. Like, man, it's it in itself is like just a fantastic thing that I want more of in my life.
Scotty, he said, what's that song? It tastes just like candy. That's what he said. It tastes like candy. I'm sorry, y'all ain't heard that song.
It tastes just like candy. Look at that. Doesn't it taste like candy, man?
That's it. That's the song. That's the one.
Ah,
You heard it.
yeah.
All right. You want me to
Okay, so
ask? You ready
come
for me
into
to
this.
ask?
Where are we at with everybody's time for today? What do you got, Andrew?
10, 15, 15 minutes. 15? Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I'm going to put 4 minutes each on the timer then for the question.
Cool. You ready for my
Yeah,
question?
yeah. Oh,
Scotty.
Scotty's got it.
Scotty, that's what I meant. Scotty knew what I was talking
Mr.
about.
Love.
Mr. L. How do you practice intention even when life gets difficult? Boom. You're muted. Sorry about
Ooh,
that.
sorry, that was my bad. My bad, my bad. I'm gonna say, when I was taught in my recovery that it was just if things are becoming difficult, then look at what you did when you first came in to see what will help you. So, they call it back to basics, right? So this is like the suggestions we give newcomers, right? Look at those and see if you can apply them in your life. So meeting attendance, right? They say 90 and 90. I'm going through a hard time. I maybe don't have to do 90 and 90, but I gotta pick up do more than what I'm doing now. And probably more like inconvenient isn't the word that I'm looking for, but like when you say like, oh well, I got too much life in the way to do meetings. Well, all of that can leave if I don't do enough meetings. So
Yeah.
so
Big facts.
go back to that, right? Go back to reaching out with men in the program, reaching out with even like I just restarted doing morning texts to people for I hadn't done that in a long time, and or if never with this amount of uh commitment. And trying to wake up and establish that fellowship connection, while I'm having my morning smoke, like really, really going back. So my intention when I'm going through a hard time is to go back to basics. So I make sure my foundation is strong, right? And then I can start looking at exactly what I need to do to get through the situation. But if I don't have a strong foundation, I'm not going to be able to do much. You know what I mean? Like a foundation is really important in that sense. So
Beautiful, man. It's a great answer. You ready, Milan? You're
you
muted.
muted.
Yeah,
No,
I
you
am
muted.
ready, but I was mute.
How do you practice intention, Milan, even when life gets difficult, bro?
You know, I would like to think that, my intention starts in the day, in the morning, right? And that's like where my head is pointed. And, I like the saying, it's either a lesson or a blessing. And so because when life is difficult, right? It's like, what am I now being resistant to learning? And it often happens, often I have to circle back around inside um, after an interaction or something and then be looking like, what was my preference? What was my motivation? What was my resentment? Like, or expectation that was being broken there. And why am I expecting that? Right. And because life, like, life is difficult because of my perception, not because it stopped being life or it's a new life. It's that I
Mhm.
created an expectation of whatever is supposed to happen. And so, you know, like one of my intentions most often broken is to not create expectations. like, like it literally is probably my very most broken intention. And I have yet to fully let that go, you know? I'm not sure I can ever let that go. I have a willingness and an open mind to try forever on that. But, you know, I still find that days are difficult. And on the worst of them, I find myself feeling like a victim, you know? And that's not that often anymore. And considering it used to be like the Prince of Pity Party victim all day, every day, that like it's a profound change in my life from where it was. And and so yeah, I think that now I don't lose the intention, but I lose that harmony between intention and action in those hard times. And
Mhm.
that's quite frankly what I need to amend afterwards. Is to realign myself and to bring back that integrity, to regain that harmony in my life. Like um because for me it's like I see like harmony like the wave that it is, like a sine wave. I do. And so I like it literally feels like chaos when things aren't harmony. Like it
Mhm.
literally I feel that kind of like that's what life feels like. And I can't stand when shit's out of tune while I'm recording. I can't stand it. So yeah, it's a state that I seek, and it's a course that I try to correct as quickly as possible. I love you guys a ton.
Love you more. Love you more. All right. Hashtag LLA. How do I practice intention when life is difficult? Well, yeah, life sucks, guys. Life shows up. Life doesn't get any better, right? Like I heard we get better at life, right, Scotty? And so, in these times, what I have to do first is I got to simplify my intentions, right? When I start feeling that what kind of way, I got to really back up and simplify my intentions down to a point where it's like, I got to narrow my focus. Um, it becomes real simple at that point. Like just stay clean, stay honest, like stay connected and keep reaching out to give myself a chance. Right. And, it's in those times when life is difficult, like my emotions will get real loud. right? And then I have this saying where I got to train my mind to be stronger than those emotions, or I'm gonna lose every time. You know, that fear, that frustration, sadness, whatever it is, anger, they want immediate relief. Those things want immediate relief, bro. They want immediate attention, right? And so in those moments, my instinct is to react, right? Say something sharp, make a rash decision, shut down, run away, control the situation, whatever. But today, the pause that I get, I can pause, right? I can practicing intention in those moments means creating a pause in between what I feel and what I do. Okay, like even the smallest pause, bro, like even the half a second pause, like is everything, right? Can change everything. You know, I ask myself, like in those moments, like what kind of man do I want to be in this moment, right? How do I want to be looked at or judged going forward, given the situation, right? Big or small, whatever it is. Not when things calm down, like right now, I ask myself that in those moments. And I got to be honest where I'm at in those moments, like right then. It's about practicing honesty, brutal. And what is it? Rigorous honesty. Love that word. Rigorous honesty. That's how I get out of it, man. That's how I know. That's how I stay straight, right? It's how I, like when life gets shitty, that's how I continue to stay a good person in those times. And then another layer to that is like, I got to stay connected. Connection is so critical for me when life gets difficult. Because when I start isolating, if I'm not connected, bro, and people ain't calling me trying to figure out where I'm at, bro, I'm in trouble. Right? I'm in trouble. You will not find me. Like I'm apt to being like, not here anymore, right? I'm an addict. I want to use drugs, right? That's what I do. That was my solution to life, right? So I'm going to try to find that solution if at all possible. Got to stay connected to y'all. And I've got to, another part of this thing, when I'll bring it home with this, is I got to accept my limitations. I'm just a human being, right? And it's difficult, difficult seasons remind me that I'm not meant to like handle everything by myself. Like difficult times come to my life so that I can utilize y'all, right? Because I need y'all. God puts these situations in my life, so I have to reach out, right? It makes me make a decision every day. And so even when I'm afraid, even when I'm overwhelmed, right, I can still act with integrity, kindness. I can still act responsibly. If I'm practicing intention, right, it means choosing actions that line up with who I want to be today. Like even when my emotions want me to like be chilling at the bar, hanging with the homies, right? Like I'm okay. Like it's okay that I think that, but I don't act that way anymore today. And so I gotta be able to pause, sit back, and then respond and not react like I used to. It's very important.
Ooh, that was beautiful.
Boom.
Okay, so this brings us to the end of our wonderfulness.
The sharing portion.
Yeah,
of
that's
our meeting.
right. Yes, now we go to our stand-up comedian Scotty Love. The Tig is out
Clean time
here.
celebration.
Right. So they discovered the perfect tool to help you with your step 10. It points everything out to you right away. Do you know what it is?
What?
Your wife.
Whoa! Tune in next episode for more recovery
I'm thinking
fun.
of a screwdriver.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Laser pointer or something.
Please help us help others. If you'd like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.